Welcome to the Dad and Cole Football Patrol.
That's right. What's going on, guys? I am Dad.
And I am Cole.
So, Cole, here we are. We are at week 3 of the NFL preseason. Do you think you know anything more about this league or these teams than we did at the start of training camps?
Not much more.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some injuries and stuff, and some guys are trying to come back. So let's start with the guy who's trying to come back, and Andrew Luck. Now, you were up snoozing the other night, but I got to see Luck command one drive down the field. Now, when I did a little reading about the game afterwards, the review wasn't so favorable of how Luck played. But from the series that
Wait, what was it?
They just said it was not so stellar of a performance. But the drive I saw early on in the game, I thought he looked pretty sharp. I thought he had good command out there. And look, I'm rooting as an NFL fan to have Andrew Luck be back and be successful. So what are your thoughts about that team overall, though? Is there enough pieces around him for him to find success once again in Indy?
No, not really. There's only really one, T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, right. That's really the only guy you kind of think of immediately. I mean, I guess Jack Doyle, his tight end, has come on a little bit.
Frank Gore, they lost him.
Right, he's no longer there. So we'll see. But the bottom line is I think we're both actively rooting for and hoping for a healthy Luck to be back and on the field for the full season.
So the Redskins signed Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, so Cole, how about this?
He's going all around, everywhere.
He's doing the NFC tour. He was in New Orleans for a little bit,
yeah.
Which kind of seemed weird because they didn't really use him at all. So they released him,
and then they went to Arizona, and now he's at Redskins.
Yeah, so Arizona at least committed to using him a bit more. And I thought I saw flashes of the old Adrian Peterson in Arizona. But look, I don't know. I'll ask you this. Do you think Adrian Peterson has enough in the tank to be a prominent go-to guy for the Washington Redskins in the running game?
Well, Alex Smith is more used to running the ball since he had Kareem Hunt a lot back in Kansas City. But they only have one, they really have nothing left. They have no wide receivers that he can throw to. The running backs are a mess, so they have nothing.
No, but I think you're making a good point that Smith is kind of guy that likes to have a little bit of balance. Even though Reed was kind of pass happy, he did have Kareem Hunt behind him last year, so I think you're making a good point there. And prior to that, he had some guys like Spencer Ware, Shandar West, and all those guys. So he had a solid, established running game behind him. I think this signing of Peterson tells you all you need to know about how Washington feels about Rob Kelly and Samardzej Perine, however you say his name. But yeah, I don't think they're thrilled about their options. Look, I'd love to see Adrian Peterson be the Adrian Peterson of old. He was one of the most fun guys to watch play football. I don't know what he has left. There have been guys who have found second acts at the running back position. You think about Jerome Bettis. St. Louis thought he was done. He went over to the Steelers and revived his entire career. I'm pretty sure Bettis was younger, though, at that point than Peterson is now. But either way, I don't know. I see why Washington made the move. I don't know if either of us think that really he has much left to give, right?
Mm-mm. If Case Keenum stays healthy, the Broncos are gonna keep him. But if he gets hurt, then they're gonna try to trade for Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, so I think what you're talking about, Cole, is there have been some rumors flying around this past week that maybe the Broncos aren't thrilled with the level.
Then why'd you sign him? And you lost all that money for just trading someone that you don't even need.
Listen, I think you're making a great point right there. Keenum had a great ride during the regular season, but you and I went back and we watched that Vikings-Eagles playoff game. Keenum did not show well in that game at all. Some really bad decisions, including a critical pick six that turned the game upside down for the Vikings. I would have been real leery of committing those kind of dollars to Case Keenum. I agree the Broncos had to address the quarterback position, but I don't think Keenum was the guy. Now, what do you think, though, as far as the Jets?
Why, maybe just trade for Tom Brady or something?
Yeah, I don't know if the Patriots are looking to part ways with Tom Brady, but let me ask you this. On the other end of the rumor mill was Teddy Bridgewater, and apparently the Broncos might have been poking around at him. If you're the Jets, would you trade Teddy Bridgewater, or do you feel you need to have someone else along with the young, developing Sam Darnold?
I think I would, like, if Sam Darnold gets hurt, I wouldn't trade him. But if they both stay healthy, I would keep, like, them, so I wouldn't trade him no matter what.
So for you, it's really like a safety net, regardless
Because he might get hurt later in, like, the season.
So you're saying regardless of how good Bridgewater plays, if he shows well and his market value increases, you're going to hold on to him regardless because you just feel like you need that safety valve for a young developing Darnold? Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's stick with the Jets for a moment. Bridgewater's been showing well. I got to admit, I haven't seen a ton, but of everything I've been reading about him, he's been playing really well. How do you feel? I'm going to put the general manager hat on you. You're the general manager of the Jets. Are you committing to Teddy Bridgewater as your starter? Are you letting this play out for another 2 weeks? Or because you invested a high draft pick in Sam Darnold that you're going to start Darnold no matter what? Like, what would be your approach to the season for the Jets?
I'm just start Darnold since we just got him like in the third pick, like in the first round. So I would actually like start him instead of Bridgewater.
Yeah, I think a lot of the GMs like you, Mr. GM, when they invest such a high pick like that, look, they want to get on with things and have that guy.
Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor's like much more better, so they can't.
That's a good comparison, but that kind of remains to be seen. I mean, Bridgewater flashed in Minnesota in that 1 year, so he potentially could be at the level of Taylor. He definitely doesn't have the amount of time and the record and the resume that Taylor's established for himself in Buffalo, but Bridgewater potentially could be that level of a player. It remains to be seen. That's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out with the Jets, whether they're going to have Darnold or Bridgewater be their guy for the start of the season. All right, Cole, so let's have some fun, man. We did this a ways back during the free agency period. When some rosters were getting turned around, and it was exciting to see players join new teams. We talked about teams that made the playoffs last year that we don't think are going to make the playoffs this year, and then we'll also go vice versa. Some guys that didn't make the playoffs last year that we think will make. So I'm going to start with you. Let's look at the AFC. So, Cole, from the teams that made the playoffs in the AFC last season, give me like one or two that you think is not going to be getting into the playoffs this upcoming season.
I'm going to say the Patriots and the Titans.
Yeah, those are two actually really good picks. I'm going to go with the Patriots as well. I've talked about this on our show. I just got a gut
feeling. They kind of just lost everybody. They lost Deion Lewis. They lost Nate Solder. They lost all their wide receivers.
Yeah, Danny Amendola's gone. They had signed Jordan Matthews. He got cut.
But then they also lost Brandon Cooks.
You're right, Cole. I mean, you're talking about all the guys that departed, and I just feel like it's been a weird offseason, and there's always that thing for teams that lose the Super Bowl. The following year, they have a real hard time getting their energy up and their emotional level up to kind of compete again.
It seems like they would be so good since they already made like the Super Bowl last year, so they would probably make the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah, right. You would think this since they were good enough to be in the Super Bowl last year, but whatever team loses for whatever reason, typically they have a real tough go of it. So I agree with the Pats. I actually think that the Chiefs are going to have a tough time getting back into the playoffs. I think with Mahomes at the helm, and I think that's a tough division there for them.
But also, they have really good wide receivers, and they have Kareem Hunt. They have Tyreek Hill,
Sammy Watkins, like you're saying. Now, look, the players around Mahomes are incredible. He's got a great cast of guys. He should be able to step in and do some things.
Justin Houston on defense.
Yeah, it's just a gut feeling with me and being in that division. I'm not a big fan of the Chiefs being able to get back into the playoffs this year. So let's now move over to the NFC. So, Cole, I'll ask you the same question. Of the NFC teams that were in the playoffs last year, give me one or two that you don't think is going to be getting in this year.
I'm going to say, there were a lot of teams, I think. I don't think any of them are gonna not.
So you think that whole crew is going to be back in the playoffs again?
Because it's a pretty good team.
Listen, you're right. It's a good group, and some guys like the Vikings made a big splash in free agency, bringing in Kirk Cousins. So I agree with you. In comparison to the AFC, I mean, the NFC class looks real strong now. Listen, I think the Falcons have a tough division when you look at the Saints, you look at the Panthers. I mean, I know all three of those guys did get in there.
The Panthers have a really good offensive coordinator now.
Yeah, Norv Turner, right. I like the addition of Turner to the Panthers. I think he's going to be a big help to Cam Newton and that overall offense. I think the Panthers are going to actually have a really good year. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I think the Vikings are going to have a tough time getting back into the playoffs. I think Rodgers is going to be resurgent. I think the Lions are... Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, who didn't get to play a lot for the Packers last year.
Okay.
So I think Rodgers is going to be resurgent with the Packers, and I think the Bears are going to be on the come up a little bit too. So I'm going to say the Vikings. I think their offensive line has some issues and some leakage there, and I think they're going to have a tough time getting back into the playoffs. So Cole, let's go to the other end. So let's talk about AFC teams that were not in the playoffs last year. Who do you like to get in there this season?
I think the Browns are just in the game, like the wild card maybe.
That's a good sneaky pick. A lot are high on the Browns. Now, with some of the shenanigans going on in Hard Knocks, I don't know, some people are backing away from their picks a little bit. But I'm with you. I love Tyrod Taylor. I do. And I think Jarvis Landry's a true talent at wide receiver. So that's an interesting one. Anyone else in the AFC you think could sneak in there?
I think the Raiders.
Oh, yeah, we haven't really talked about them. So you like Gruden?
Because they got Jordy Nelson, Doug Martin.
I'm going to stick in that division with the AFC West, and I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think they made a real strong stretch run at the end of the season last year. I like the talent around Phillip Rivers, so I think the Chargers could get in the playoffs this year. So moving over to the NFC, Cole, who was not in the playoffs last year, that you can see make an appearance this season?
I think that... Actually, the Bears could.
Oh, that's a good one. Now, they're in a tough division, but I like the offseason that they had.
Got Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
Allen Robinson.
Yep, Trey Burton, our guy from the Philly Special. We like Trey Burton, who's been showing pretty well in preseason for them a little bit. Any other teams that were not in the playoffs last year that you can see getting in there? How about Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, Mr. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers? Do you like their chances?
Nah.
Nah, you think they're going to have an off year?
Yeah.
Even with Jimmy Graham being there this year? You're not feeling it for Mr. Rodgers? Now, there's another team that I think you may want to say.
The Giants!
Oh, you're going to say it! Go ahead, tell everyone what you're thinking and why you feel the Giants. I'm going to have to hear this. Oh, you need to be careful and recognize the town you live in, boy. No, but seriously,
Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, and Eli, when he tends to have a running game, tends to be a better quarterback. They shored up the offensive line. Look, I get it. That all remains to be seen, though.
And the Negro.
Yeah, I'm going to be cautiously suspicious of all of a sudden them being...
Ogletree.
All right, that's enough out of you. Now.
We're going to be doing predictions of 2018
season, sure.
Season.
Yeah, so you wanted to do some, which I thought this was a fun idea, some predictions about the big awards for the big season. So these are some high-level awards. MVP we'll talk about, potential Rookie of the Year, and then Comeback Player of the Year. All right, buddy, so let's start with MVP honors, the big one. Who you got in 2018?
Antonio Brown.
Ooh, AB is definitely the kind of guy that can carry a team. Let me know what your thought process is. How's Antonio Brown going to pull down MVP honor?
I like Antonio Brown. He's my favorite football player.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that. That might be new information for me.
Oh, you knew that, actually.
You love when he does his flips into the end zone, too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, listen.
I also liked when he caught that, like with his head. Remember that? Like, the one hand.
Yeah.
Like, he caught it.
So MVP honors have been really dominated by the quarterback position as of late. But look, back in the day, wide receivers absolutely were able to pull down.
Wide receiver, one linebacker.
Yeah, we were looking through some of the positions. Yeah, so there's been all sorts of different kinds that have won that honor throughout the league. Now let's move over to Rookie of the Year.
Saquon Barkley.
Okay,
it's kind of obvious.
That's an obvious one. And then for Comeback Player of the Year, who was someone who was hurt last year that you see bouncing back in a big way this season?
I think it's between between Carson Wentz and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, those are two good ones for sure. Man, as Birds fans, let's hope it's Carson Wentz. So I'll give you my picks here. For MVP, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit. I think Phillip Rivers, if he gets the team into the playoffs, could have the kind of year that could be MVP worthy. For Rookie of the Year, yeah, it's probably going to be Saquon. I'm not going to get too crazy on that. And then for Comeback Player of the Year, I'm going to go Andrew Luck, the guy we talked about earlier. I would love to see him regain form. And I mean, man, you were like a toddler the last time Luck was out there doing this thing. You were. This was like years ago. And I think we've all forgotten that like Andrew Luck was pegged to be the next great one. And he's just been riddled with injuries. So I'm rooting for him.
Oh, do you think he's like Tom Brady good?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think he could be a preeminent guy. He's shown in stretches quality of player where he could be a top 3 league quarterback, but he's just got to be on the field, and that has not been the case as of late. Guys, we want to hear from you. Who do you got? What have you seen through this preseason so far that's going to tell you one team that made the playoffs last year is not going to be in, and another one that weren't in, they're sure as heck are going to be in? So please leave a comment. We want to hear from you. And then how about the awards? Who do you got for MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year? Leave a comment.
It's kind of obvious for Rookie of the Year.
Leave a comment, though. Especially, do you think it's someone other than Saquon? That'd be awesome. We'd love to hear from you. And then what else, Cole? Subscribe. Yeah, guys, we'd be honored if you would hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our content that we put out here on the Dad and Cole Football Patrol. Anything else, Bubbers?
Mega numbers.
That's it, right? Take care, guys.